Hello, BookTube. We're engaged in something of a dark, endless melodrama on this channel. And as is true with most evil things in life, the ultimate source of this is Bill Rutenberg, the Rutenberg Library. He did a video on his channel in which he takes us on a tour of his book bag. It was nothing more than that. It was as innocuous as a book bag tour. But that was all I needed. I was off to the races because I have a lifelong fascination with shoulder bags, with book bags, with satchels of any kind. I have a lifelong fascination with them, much like my search for the perfect one device to rule them all when it comes to computers. I have, in my life, often been looking for the one shoulder bag to rule them all. The only difference is, in my life, I have found that shoulder bag a few times, probably 6 times, and just worn them out, worn them to pieces. So I'm always looking for a really good one. So I made a long Zapruder film of tedium, where I went through not only my current shoulder bag, but all the possible candidates to replace it, with long digressions on each individual characteristic of each of those bags. This was a nightmare that Bill Rutenberg could not have foreseen. And I was willing to let it go at that and continue my existential struggles to find the perfect new book bag on my own. But then the pot was stirred again by that well-known instigator, Aaron Facer, who did a tour of his own shoulder bag just yesterday, posting it for today in what he inspiredly called Bag Tuesday instead of Tag Tuesday here for BookTube. And he took us on a tour of his own shoulder bag, which had strengths and weaknesses. Let's just put it that way. Quite apart from, I mean, the utility of a shoulder bag is coming down to 2 essential features. One is the inherent structures of the bag, and the second is your inherent wisdom as a bag carrier. I would say that that Aaron Facer's combination was deficient on both sides. You can't carry the kitchen sink with you when you're carrying a bag around. Of course you're using the space wrong. If you can look through your shoulder bag and find old ketchup packets, then you are using the space wrong. But in addition to that, his video, I'll leave a link to it down below, his video gave me horrors because his bag it's a nice strong leather bag. New, it seemed, but it's small. That's a big problem for me because when I don't use my leather bag, my shoulder bag often, I don't use it every day like I once did. Aaron, I think, goes to work, so he uses his every day. A lot of you probably do. I don't anymore. But when I do use it, I know for sure that it is going to be carrying a lot of stuff. It can't be a small bag. And also, his bag had another thing that I consider to be a severe structural defect with an out-and-about bag, which is no immediate, easy, quick access to any part of the bag. His bag had, as far as I could tell, no real useful back folder, the part that's pressed to your body, a big flap over the front that was attached by 2 buckles, or what Aaron calls buckles. And that's it. No side pouches and no little pouch on the outside of that big flap. So you actually have to, it's a big production number to get inside the bag to get something. For me, that's kind of a deal breaker. I want to be able to get in and out right away. That's one of the reasons that I don't have a backpack on my shoulder, because there's no way I have to sling it off to do that. And also, putting a backpack on your shoulder, on your back, maybe it's just paranoid on my part, although Aaron Facer is not paranoid, and he mentioned also thieves. When you're on a crowded subway platform or a crowded bus, you have to worry about, especially if you're not in your home country, but even if you are, you have to worry about thieves. And a backpack literally presents everything you own in the world to the rest of the world in a way that you can't even see. So I just, no, it's not going to be that. But thanks to Aaron Facer's video, you're getting a sequel to my epic black hole of tedium. Now, the bag that I'm talking about is this one. This is currently my, as the Dude Bros say, daily driver. This is my current shoulder bag. It's got leather embracing on the bottom there, heavy-duty patches on the corners where the wear and tear might be the thickest. It's got these heavy rubber borders all around with double stitching, and it's very thick, heavy material. And I wanted that because, as I've mentioned on this channel many times before, and as you could tell from looking at my friend Deb, I'm hard on my things. I'm really hard on my things. When I use them without probably the delicacy that they need. And it was just recently with this bag. This has all the features that I would like. See, it's got these two pouches on the outside that snap closed, which means I can put something that I need ready access to in there and then snap it closed so that it's easy access for me, but a thief would have to make a noise. A thief would have to make noise to open it, and I would notice that. It has both of those. It has a big flap over an enormous cavernous inside. It has a spot for the nook, and it's got a useful back pocket that I stuff with tote bags. You see, it's rivets of metal everywhere. It's a really heavy-duty bag. That's what attracted me to it. I don't particularly like its aesthetic at all. But what drew me to it is that it's extremely heavy-duty, but it has an Achilles heel, as most bags do, which is, no matter how heavy-duty this cloth is, the thing that makes it a shoulder bag is the straps, and the straps are anchored to the bag. I don't know if you can tell, but this whole island right here is giving out. It's going to pull away from the body of the bag. It's, I can see it. I'm not sure that you can see it, but can you make that out? Maybe not with this camera. I think maybe you can, though. You can see my finger moving, right? In the back of that, if you look really close, this has become almost a mesh. This is going to pull out of the bag, and you don't know when that's going to happen. You only know one thing. It's going to happen at a terrible moment. It's going to happen at the worst possible moment, where this just pulls apart. It's going to happen at a time when I have 50 pounds of books in this bag, and am a mile and a half away from my front door, and it's 120 degrees Fahrenheit. That's when it's going to happen. And therefore, it would be foolish for me to continue using this bag. The rest of it is in perfect condition, but what difference does it make? This is a structurally crucial detail. If it won't use the shoulder strap, then it's useless to me. I'm not going to carry it as a briefcase with this handle, obviously. I'm not going to do that if it's 50 pounds of books. So this bag needs replacing. Even though it's not wearing out anywhere else, it's wearing out in a key structural place, so it needs replacing. What I will need to do is take the tote bags, the toy, all of the stuff from these inner bags, the inner pouches in here where I've got, you know, my COVID mask or my electronic door pass, or a do-rag for the 10 months out of the year when it's boiling hot here in Boston, because we're in the tropics, so it gets boiling hot and humid. I mean, today we're in the middle of winter, so today is fairly cold. It's 60 degrees Fahrenheit here, and that's bone chilling. But for most of the year, 10 months out of the year, Boston is at least 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So I need a sweat rag, or I'm just going to be a swamp creature the whole time. I need to take all of that stuff out of this, lay it out on the little bed, and then put it in a new bag. And it would be foolish to wait until this falls apart. If I wait, it will fall apart. So I showed you a gigantic pile of candidate bags to replace it. I had my surly houseboy open the one closet in this little room that I never use. The bed is blocking it most of the time, 365 days a year, except for 1 hour here and there when I get my surly houseboy to shift the bed, which is not a small thing because it's pre-World War II iron box spring at the bottom there. So the mattress is a new foam mattress, but the box spring is heavy. It's heavy metal. I really should get rid of it. I really should. I should either just use the foam mattress on the floor, or get another foam mattress and stack them one on top of the other. And just get rid of that metal framework. I have a bit of a sentimental attachment to it because I've had it since the Crimean War, but it's inconvenient and it's unnecessary. A foam backer for this bed would be fine, and that would be so easy to move around that I could do it myself. So which means I could go in and out of that closet all the time. Boy, oh boy, when that closet was in there, when it was open, I went in there and I noticed a whole bunch of stuff that could go, just get thrown away. Technically, that should be true anyway, right? If a closet, it can be full of things and stay closed for 364 days out of the year, and I don't notice nor ever want any of those things, then I should throw those things away. That right? We hate to think that, but that is true. If you have stuff that you don't ever think about or look at, then it's wasted. You should get rid of it. But I didn't do that, but I did notice a lot of that. And I pulled out all the bags that were in that closet, a lot of them. So I don't need to buy a new bag. Despite a certain person, let's just call him Smika, who might vox at me tauntingly and saying that if I don't go on eBay or Amazon and buy a brand new bag, I'm a soy boy cuck. Despite that fact, I don't need to buy a new bag. I don't need to do that. I have plenty of bags to choose from. But will any of them cut the mustard? Or are all of them in trouble? So I'm going to go through them again because a Mockingbird-style Hunger Games elimination process has taken place, and I want to show you that elimination process. The number of bags has dropped as candidates. And so technically I shouldn't keep any of the ones that have fallen, because if they're fallen now, they're always going to be true. But bags are often helpful in other ways. I probably won't get rid of any of these, even though they won't work as a daily commute bag. Whether or not a shoulder bag can handle regularly 50 pounds of books being lugged over 5 miles is not the be-all and end-all of whether or not a shoulder bag is useful. Right? If I were to go somewhere, I might want a light secondary bag full of clothing, for instance. These things can be useful. So I don't think I'll get rid of any of them, but I don't know how many of them are going to make the cut. The first one here, this Aeropostale red shoulder bag, it has no handy side pockets. But it does have, in addition to the big flap that covers the main body of the bag, which is big and capacious, the main flap also has a zippered compartment, which isn't quite as convenient. You can't quite reach. You have to zip. But at least you don't have to go into the bag and fiddle around for things. So this was a candidate, but it is too weak. It is too weak in the key place that matters. This is just ordinary cloth. And as you can see, it's already tearing out from the times when I've used it for the 50-pound book part of the thing. It's already tearing loose. So that is eliminated. May the odds be ever in your favor. It is gone. The next one, same thing. This is just a floppy, featureless shoulder bag. It does have, this is nice and floppy, which is how I like my bags, and it does have easy access outside pouches on either side there, so that you don't need to go into the bag at all, and they also snap so that you're going to know if somebody else tries to get in this. But same thing. This is too weak. The fabric itself is too weak. So it's going to pull loose. These things, these islands that attach the strap to the bag are going to pull loose. They just certainly are. This doesn't have a ventral flap at all. It doesn't have any space on the back and the part where the bag presses against your body. It doesn't have anything. There's less storage. But it's also too weak. So it's not going to cut the mustard. It might cut the mustard for clothing, but it is eliminated from this round of the bag saga here on Bag Tuesday. Then this next one is a Land's End bag, but it's not going to cut the mustard either. Land's End makes, or this is LL Bean, and LL Bean makes really good products. This is a lightweight shoulder bag of theirs, very similar to the one that we just saw. Sort of formless, a flap over a main body. This has not only side pouches that are Velcro, which is just as good as a snap. It still means that there's no way to get at this surreptitiously, right? I don't care if it's a snap or a loud Velcro noise. I don't care either. And it also has a spot on the strap. The strap is actually part of the bag, but it's still weak. The strap is still just sewn to the bag. It's not a big square. Instead, it's a rectangle, but the XYZ pattern is the same, and it's just not strong enough, as you can see. The whole island of this base is starting to pull loose from the body of the bag. And when it does, this thing is useless. This has a handle here, but put 50 pounds of books in here and you try to use this handle, this will pull right off in your hand the first time. So that's immediate, and this is certainly going to happen. This might not be immediate, but it's inevitable that this is just going to wear out. So although it's an LL Bean bag, it doesn't cut the mustard. It goes on the also ran pile. Then we have this next one. Probably is the physically strongest bag of them all. This is not a Land's End bag. I don't know who made this because I cut off their insignia. I carved it off the bag because I didn't want to carry it around. It's this. This is this bag. It has nice reinforced leather corners. It has a really heavy-duty canvas that the whole bag is made out of. The anchors for the shoulder straps are not only double sewn into a thick piece of leather, but also riveted. It's really strong. You can't get much stronger than this. If the stitching were somehow to come out, the rivet would still hold. If the rivet were somehow to come out, the stitching would still hold. Aside from the shoulder strap being actually part of the fabric of the bag with no seam or stop at all here, there's no stronger way to do this. So that is very good. Also, I kind of like the aesthetic of this thing. It doesn't have easy access pouches. The only thing, it does have a ventral side right here, and the ventral side zips. So I guess you could make it secure. But you could also use this thing. This flap opens up to a big inner compartment that also has another big inner compartment. So there are plenty of places where you could put things here that would probably be proof. I think I would probably still feel inclined to buckle this, to snap this closed, and that is a bit of extra work, but that's not the reason why this doesn't make the cut. The main reason this doesn't make the cut is something that we have to keep in mind. Certainly I would keep it in mind if I had, for instance, Aaron Facer's bag, which is that you have to like your bag. It can't be irritating you. It can't be irritating you, and it doesn't matter how small the reason is. One of the keys to getting rid of a lot of the accumulated tension in your life, not to get all philosophical or anything, but one of the keys to doing that is to smooth out your life. Get rid of the little inconsequential things that bug you. In your work area, the place where if you write, and you should, but if you write or if you work in any way, did your work area just sort of accumulate randomly, and there are all kinds of features about it that not only don't help your work, but that irritate you every single time you sit there? Well, take a step back, figure out what those things are, and get rid of them. Just get rid of them. Same thing with the mechanisms of your kitchen. How does the flow of your kitchen work? Same thing with anything. Same thing with anything. I think about this a lot for my workspace out on the fainting couch because I want that to be completely friction-free. I have enough work to do there as it is. I don't want anything causing friction, especially if I can easily fix it. And the same thing is true with a bag. I know this seems self-indulgent, but the same thing is true with a bag. If I'm going to use a bag every day, now I'm not. I don't use my bag every day anymore. I did once upon a time. That's where this whole philosophy developed. But if I'm going to use a bag regularly, I don't want any part of it to irritate me. I either want to get rid of that part or I want to get rid of the bag and find a bag that doesn't have that part. Plain and simple. That's all there is to it. And that is self-indulgent, but when it comes to this aspect of your life, you should be self-indulgent. You absolutely should be. You only get this go-around once. Don't add tensions and irritations and little annoyances that you could easily skip. Keep in mind that does not include the Richardson family inviting me to their house. I just realized I was setting a trap for myself. They still have to do that, but you don't have to do it with your bag. And this has a zipper on top. And it would be, I checked, this would be a major deal. This was a really solidly made bag. I looked at it very carefully because I thought, all right, well, that's bothering you, but the rest of the bag you really like. I looked at this, and it would be a major deal for me to remove this zipper. I could take it somewhere, as a seamstress of some kind, and have them remove it for money. But I'm kind of wanting to do all of this without money. And removing that zipper would be an undertaking. And I don't think there is a way for me to remove these dumb handles here. I'm never going to use these handles. So I would want to get rid of them as well. They're kind of in the way. You're supposed to be able to snap them together into one satchel. But I'm never going to use this as a briefcase. I'm going to use this only as a shoulder bag. So it has features that I would Frankenstein away, but I don't think it would be possible to do. I really don't. I think I would have to dismantle the bag to get rid of the zipper. Alas, this also has somebody was obviously using it heavy duty before I got this secondhand for $1, and that's exactly as much money as I want to spend on this. Somebody obviously was, because I don't know if you're going to be able to make this out, but the shoulder part, that somebody was obviously using these handles and was starting to pull that's starting to pull away from the main body of the bag. So if I were to bring this to a seamstress or a leathersmith or something like that, in order to get rid of the zipper, I would probably want them to fix that hole too and make this hole. But it doesn't matter. That's a lot more falderall than I'm willing to go to the bother of. So although this bag is technically really good in a lot of ways, it does not make the cut. I'll keep it for luggage, but it does not make the cut for a daily bag. It would work. It would work just fine the way it is. The hole up there by the handle doesn't matter to me because I'm never going to use the handle. But the zipper would bother me every time I used it. I don't like zippers. They are the work of the devil. If you didn't have a sense of touch, you would hate zippers too. Believe you me, they would. But I hate them. I always have hated them. They only snag and pinch and bite and cause problems. So I would want it gone from that bag. And every time I used it, I would be remembering that. Every single time. So that rules it out. Plain and simple. They don't make it. Doesn't make it to Mockingjay Bird. So that leaves us, believe it or not, with 3 candidates. Out of that whole pile, we got rid of a bunch. We have 3. Now, the first one I want to show you was your sentimental favorite. I was, in the previous, that Black Hole Tedium video that I did about all my shoulder bags, I specifically was not asking for a democratic vote. Okay? This channel is not a democracy. It is a ruthless dictatorship. But nevertheless, a lot of you chimed in anyway on which bag you like the most, and this one won hands down, and I used it for a long time. It's in a lot of videos of mine. So I can probably understand that. It's this. It's a battered old leather shoulder bag. It's maybe a little too battered. I would probably have to fix this up a little. You know, go around the border here with scissors, cut off all the stray bits and whatnot. No, do that, but other than that, it can't be fixed. This has just been worn away and scored and patterned the way leather products tend to do. If you use them and you don't upkeep them, this tends to happen. You'll notice that even though the corners are frayed, they are still completely structurally intact. This is a workhorse of a bag. It was made to last forever. And it is really, really good. It doesn't have an immediate outside access. It has no immediate outside access. But the big flap covers an easy inside pocket and a huge interior of the bag. And so for years I used this and I would just tuck things in here that I wanted to be less accessible. When this flap is over the bag, notice it doesn't have any clasps or buckles or anything like that. It just lays there. But it's the whole length of the bag. It's the whole depth of the bag, which means it's going to be hard for somebody to surreptitiously get anything out of this bag. See, that's what it used to look like. That's what this used to look like. Oh my. And in early videos on this channel from like 7 years ago, this does look like that. But I kept using it and wearing away at it and wearing away at it. And I really do like this bag. It's nice and floppy. It has lots and lots of lived-in personality. But, and it doesn't have the easy access outside pouch, but the compromise is something I can live with. But what about the Achilles heel of all these bags? What about the actual attachment to the bag itself? Now, this one is really strong, and I know that because I use this for years, lugging books, sometimes every day. You can see here, this is not sewn, it's just bolted. And there's a little bit of wear that is already starting to happen. I wonder if that's true on the other side as well. Yeah, it is. There's a little bit of wear that's starting to happen. But it's bolted, which means that it would really have to pull the whole of the thing off the body of the bag. That could happen. This is small. It's not a big rivet, and it's not more than one rivet. It's not part of the bag itself. So it's definitely the weak spot of this bag. It is still asking for trouble. There are no other weak spots here. This is an absolutely rock solid thing. But if we go inside here, I don't know if you're going to be able to make this out. No, you're not really going to be able to make it out. But there's nothing else here on the inside anchoring the strap to the bag. It's just that bolt. So it's a bolt of metal holding a piece of leather to another piece of leather. Now that's pretty solid, but it's not solid enough for me not to think about it. That's for sure. Just because of how much use this bag has seen. But it's not out of the running. It's definitely a contender. I know that it's rock solid, and a lot of, probably in order for that bolt to give out, unlike stitches, probably I would get a lot of warning. Probably wouldn't happen all at once. But then there are 2 other contenders, and they are also LL Bean bags. They are my 2 LL Bean bags. I want to show you both of them, even though you've seen them before, because this channel is not voluntary, and I was not promising that I would be interesting. This is the first. They're identical. They just have a different color. So you have the leather detailing here on a canvas bag. You've got no side pouches, no easy access pouches, and the front flap that covers the main body of the bag only covers it to a third of the way mark. So this is easy for somebody to get at, especially these outer pouches here. That's easy for somebody to get at. Easy to do. Even one person alone. Two people working in tandem, as thieves usually do. Simple to get in there and get anything that's in there. This has a ventral patch here, and it has a snap on it. But the snap is only in the middle, which means all of this is open. That also is fairly easy. You can get a whole hand in there. If you know what you're doing, you can get a whole hand in there in a fraction of a second and get anything that's in there. Not that that is the only principle that should dictate what you use for a bag, but nevertheless, this doesn't have any outside compartment like that. And it doesn't have the feature of the leather bag where the flap for the whole thing goes down all the way to the bottom. So somebody would need to lift the whole thing to get inside. It has these handles, and they are leather reinforced, but I'm never going to use this as a suitcase. As a briefcase. I'm going to use it to stuff it full of books. And it has a lot of space on the inside. It has a divider on the inside here that I might want to Frankenstein out of here. It's just a piece of cloth that's sewn in the middle there. The stitches are readily available on either side. What you want to do when you're doing something like that with a bag like this is turn it inside out. Turn the whole bag inside out. Instead of fiddling around down there with a knife or scissors, turn the whole bag inside out so you can see the stitch work that you're doing. I would probably want to get rid of that internal partition. And it also has a feature that I would definitely want to get rid of, which is this. It has, in the midst of all this floppy cloth, it has a wooden rowel right here on top that is meant to be, it isn't connected to the cloth that anchors these straps. It's just meant to give them support and shape as a briefcase. That's all it's meant to do. It's only on the one side. It's not on the dorsal side. And it's just a board that's stuck in here. So what I want to do is take a knife, make a small incision right there, just big enough for the board, nothing else than that, and just pull that piece of wood out so that this is all floppy. I don't want anything like that in a bag like this. So, and that would be easy to do. The main problem is, once again, the Achilles heel of all of these bags, which is how does the shoulder strap attach to the body of the bag? And the answer here is not well. Not well. This is tiny. It's one piece of cloth that is sewn to an anchoring position underneath this strap that then goes across the bag. But this strap is not helping it structurally. The only thing that's holding this little piece here to the bag is one of those X pattern stitches to a placket inside here. Can you make it out? Can you see it? Let's see here. No, it's inside the bag, so it's not accessible to me to improve or to examine at all. So I won't know. I won't have any idea when these stitches are coming out. I can't see them on the front, and I can't see them on the back either. They're totally not visible to me. That's annoying because this piece of cloth right here is unlikely to be the thing that breaks. Instead, it'll be those stitches that'll break, and they will probably do so without warning. And that's on both sides here. Now, granted, this also has a zipper, just like this one did. This leather one, the top of it is a zipper. I'm never going to zipper it closed. Never. When I use this, I'm going to be filling it with books, which means it's going to be out like this. So I'm never going to use that zipper to close it. And that's another problem with these two Land's End bags, because when I know how I'm going to use this, it's going to be full of books like that. When it's full of books like that, unlike this bag, when this thing is, notice the strap that covers the front of this bag is sewn to the front of this bag. See? It's sewn right there. It doesn't come from back here and flop around the front like this one does. Which means when this is full of books and wide open like that, there's nothing protecting him. If by chance it were one of the 2 days in a 365-day calendar year where it rains in Boston, these books would be totally open to the elements. I would have to put a shirt over them or something like that. Now, as I mentioned, it doesn't rain in Boston. We don't have any precipitation of any kind, not snow, not rain, not even dew in the morning. We have barely anything like that. It is mostly always dry, hot, and arid here in Boston, pretty much year-round. So preparing for or ruling something out because of rain is kind of silly. But nevertheless, I'm stuck in it because until George W. Bush scorned the Kyoto Accords, the Earth's environment was normal. And that was my first 175,000 years on Earth, was that there were 4 seasons in New England. and that 2 of those seasons featured copious amounts of rain. Until George W. Bush came along, and now we have 4 seasons, but 3 of them are fire, heat, and desert. So there's no rain. But that is still a concern. Those things would be entirely open. There's no way for me to, in other words, for me to protect the body of this bag. So I looked at the zipper. This has a zipper on top too. It's a different structure than the other bag because this is removable. I would not need a seamstress to do this. I've checked out the grounding for it on the inside. I could easily remove this. It would take about an hour to do, and I don't think it would look all that bad, especially when I get rid of the Rowl. So this is just a floppy satchel. I haven't done it yet because, well, A, I'm wondering which bag is the one that I will settle on, and B, you're never completely sure. I am 99.9% sure that this piece of wood right here is easily extractable and has no impact on the rest. I can feel it moving around inside the cloth. I don't think it has any impact on the structure of the bag. I don't think I'll be doing anything irreparable to the bag to do that. Keep in mind, the process is irreparable. I might know how to take a knife to a bag, but I don't know how to sew, even a simple incision. So if I take that wooden rod out of there, I can't put it back in. I'm 99.9% sure that I won't want to, that it's just an add-on. I think I know exactly why it's there, to give structure to the bag. But that's a bit of a hesitation. Not only do I not know for sure about this bag, because this is a weakness, and this is a weakness. But also I don't know for sure what would happen if I remove that wooden rowel, which makes it really handy that I have 2 of those bags. They're identical. I bought this new, but they're identical except for the color scheme. This also has the wooden rowel right there. And it also has all the exact same problems, right? The the anchor of the shoulder strap is hidden. It's hidden from me. I can't see whether or not it's giving up the ghost. Maybe that means I don't need to worry about it. Maybe that means that it's double reinforced under there and I don't need to think about it. Certainly I don't know of any stories of LL Bean bags that gave out here, as opposed to, well, actually thanks to the rest of you after that last video about bags, quite a few of you emailed me stories about your LL Bean purchases, and it appears that LL Bean bags actually giving out is virtually unknown. It seems like they outlast their owners. It seems like they get more and more battered, but they never lose their structural integrity. If that's true, then I'm wearing for nothing. What I will do here to move this discussion along is pick one of these 2 bags and do a trial removal of that piece of wood. That'll at least be a start. If that doesn't do anything structurally to the bag, and I don't think it will, then maybe I try this. These LL Bean bags are really good. They have a couple of problems, but they are really good. So that is the state of the Hunger Games of bags here on this channel, which is, do I Frankenstein the 2 LL Bean bags, one of the 2 or both of them, to make them a little more congenial to me, even though they have structural problems that I can't fix? Or do I just go back to this? Do I just go back to my leather bag and trust that these leather straps will hold indefinitely? All the other things, I don't really need an easy access pouch on either end of this thing. If this flap covers the whole of the bag, right? I can put something deep down in here. No one's going to be able to get to that without me knowing it. And also, the big, deep flap is not only anchored on the back of the bag, it's part of the bag. It's part of the cloth of the bag. And it covers the whole of the front. Even if this were completely full of books, this would still lay flat across that top and protect them. And this also, like a lot of these bags, but maybe a little bit more so, has intangible elements in its favor. Not only a huge amount of happy memories. I've used this bag an enormous amount. I really like it. It's not like this bag, where I've used it an enormous amount, but I never actually fell in love with it. You know how that goes. I'm sure you have stuff like that. Some you fall in love with and some that you don't. Not only that, but also the aesthetic, which is no small thing. I can ordinarily overlook it. Obviously, I am not obsessed with aesthetics, but I can ordinarily overlook that. But unlike almost all the rest of these, the only other bag that has aesthetics that I really love is that red Aeropostale bag, which certainly won't work. It's not strong enough. This, I mean, the aesthetic might have gone a little too far, but the aesthetic really suits me. This is an old, battered, serviceable, useful thing, and so am I. so that is the state of my bags on Bag Tuesday. Now, on his video, Aaron Facer sort of soft-spokenly Aaron and I are both shy, soft-spoken guys with tousled hair. He sort of soft-spokenly mentions that he'd love to see a tour of your bag. But so far, not enough people have done this. It's an easy video to make. It's incredibly interesting for those of us who are nosy, and I think that's most of us. But it's especially me, and does it need to be more than that? I would also echo that, perhaps a little louder than Aaron, by saying I would very much like to see your bag, your daily driver, your working bag, and I would like you to tell me about it. What's your history with it? What annoys you about it? Where do things go inside it? Where do you now know where things go? If I change to this bag, I will put that children's toy here. I'll put my tote bags in the back pouch and zipper it closed so they can't bounce around. I will put my, this has a big front section here. It's compartmentalized in a way that isn't really useful to me. It has lots of little pouches for business cards and whatnot. But here can be that electronic hall pass and the do-rag and pandemic mask. See, these things they're a little bit pre-made. You've got a space for credit cards. You've got a little space here for pens and pencils. That isn't really necessary. This pouch is good enough. Things can live in there, and it doesn't take much fiddling around. In fact, one project to do might be to get rid of this altogether. It's only stitched to this lining. It'd be easy to do. All I would need is my trusty friend, the Irishman's sewing machine. All I would need is this. That's all. That can fix any kind of stitching. So I might do that. I might Frankenstein even my leather bag, but it has all the functionality of the bag that I'm replacing. The only problem is I don't know if I would be replacing it. The reason that I'm ditching this shoulder bag is because the shoulder strap is fixing to pull away from the bag. And I don't know if that will happen here. It's a little bit less likely because we're talking about a metal divot instead of stitches, but I don't know. I don't know. And that's a haunting worry. So anyway, feel free to show me your bag. Feel free. Turnabout is fair play. If I have bored you to death for 40 minutes about a bag, you can do the same to me. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. That is part 2 of my bag saga, here on Bag Tuesday. And I will be back. You can bet on it. Thank you, BookTube.